Namaste and good morning. Today I am going to present such summary of the story The Selfish Giant by Oscar Wilde. Grade 11 compulsory. Let's see the summary. Before going to the summary, better to know about the setting of the story. A beautiful garden to a castle. Castle means big building, palace. Old palace is there. Then that palace is, the castle is surrounded by beautiful garden with beautiful flowers. Better to know the plots. Plots means main events occurred in the story. The giant finds children playing in his garden. The selfish giant bans the children or kids from playing in his garden. Spring season doesn't come at the garden. The kids come back to the garden. The kids are really nice to the giant, so he loves them. The giant is no longer selfish. These are the main points from the story. You may see the picture. Giant is there. Many children are following him. So the characters are the selfish giant and children. Summary. The story mostly takes place in the giant's garden. It is cold, dark and rainy in the garden. Once warm and sunny after kids played there. The kids were fond of playing in the giant's garden. It was a lovely garden with soft grass and beautiful flowers. It has 12 peach trees that flourish with pink and pearl. Flowers in spring season turns into rich fruits in the autumn. The kids listen to the songs of various birds and thus lived in. Here is mistake to a song, not to the songs. Their enjoyment had ended with the arrival of the giant, who was away for the last 7 years. He was infuriated when he saw children playing in his garden. He started shouting and built a high wall around it. He put up a notice that passing from this property is prohibited. Namaste and good morning. We are The decision took a toll on kids as they did not have a place to play. Because if they play on the road, there were lots of dust and stones. They were very sad and depressed as the time passed by. Spring season came and flowers blossomed everywhere and little birds were chirping all around. But it did not arrive in Giant's garden. There was barren winter only. Trees and flowers were barren, and no birds were chirping in the garden. However, the snow and the frost were happy there in the garden. The snow covered up the grass with her white cloak, and frost covered trees. The north wind was invited to stay. They brought chaos in the garden. Then they made plan to invite hailstones in the garden. It fell on the roof of the castle and broke most of its spreads. He was dressed in grey. The giant was dressed in grey color. However, the giant was waiting eagerly and was hopeful. One morning, the giant heard the melodious song of a bird. Initially, the giant thought that it must be the king's musical passing by. The giant rejoiced as he was sure that the spring has arrived. Looked at and found that bad. Every tree was blossoming as the child was sitting on its branch. The birds were flying, flowers were laughing, except for a place where a small child couldn't climb the tree. The poor tree wanted the child as frost, snow, and north wind were blowing on that. The giant realized his mistake and decided to break the wall. He went down stair and opened the front door, but the children were frightened to see him. The small boy couldn't run away. The giant lifted the boy and put him onto a branch of the tree. The tree blossomed at once. The giant's behavior was changed and he allowed the other kids. Then only there entered the spring. Jubilant giant took an axe and knocked down the wall. People were surprised to see the kids playing with giant. The giant invited every kid to play in his garden, with special mention to the youngest kid. But nobody knew him. The giant became very kind to children. Years rolled by. The giant grew old. While sitting in an armchair, he watched children playing. He said that the kids are the most beautiful flowers of all. The giant no longer hated the winter. One winter morning, he was surprised to see the lovely white blossom flower. Its branches were golden, silver fruit. There was the little boy sitting underneath. He was very happy and rushed towards him. In his hand, he grew angry. He wanted to punish the wrongdoer, but the child replied that those were urns of love. The giant was to hear such an answer. He asked him, who replied gently that would allowed him to play in his garden. Now he would take him along. When children came to play in the afternoon, covered with white flowers. Thank you. This is the summary of the story, The Selfish Giant. This topic is kept in English, grade 11. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel. Thank you.